Welcome to the Hospitality Break Room, the podcast where we talk about the real conversation shaping the vacation rental industry. This season, we're diving into a topic that's becoming more important than ever: the relationship between vacation rentals and travel planners. For years, hotels have built strong partnerships with travel advisors and planners, while many vacation rental operators have struggled to understand how to work within that ecosystem. But that's changing. Today's travelers are looking for more personalized experiences, more space, and more curated stays. Travel planners are increasingly helping clients discover professionally managed vacation rentals as part of that experience. Throughout this season, we'll talk with travel planners, industry leaders, and hospitality professionals to better understand how these partnerships work, where the opportunities are, and what our industry can do to build stronger relationships with the advisor community. Whether you're a property manager, host, hospitality brand, or travel advisor, this season is designed to help bridge the gap between vacation rentals and the world of travel planning. Thanks for joining us in the break room. Let's get into today's episode. Hi, and welcome back to the Hospitality Break Room. I'm Rachel Allday, and today I have an amazing guest with me, and that person is Scott Wiseman. And Scott is the CEO of Nocturne Luxury Villas, which is a collection of exclusive luxury villas across some of the finest destinations. And Scott has a ton of experience working with travel advisors in relation to booking vacation rentals. And there's not too many people in our industry that I think have as much experience handling this on the luxury side, and also like to such a high degree of like the relationship building and the success in working with travel advisors. And so that's why I wanted to bring Scott on. So Scott, do you want to give a little background on yourself maybe?
Sure, I'd love to. And thanks for having me, Rachel. I really
Of
appreciate it.
course. Scott's my good friend too. So I feel like this is a perfect person to have on the show. Okay, go for it.
You're very kind. Thank you. I was very fortunate. I chose the hospitality space at an very early age and decided to double down on it for my career. And so I have been very fortunate that travel advisors have been a big part of what I've done in all different types of industries within hospitality, whether it's hotels or all-inclusive space, or even custom FIT luxury, travel. And so I have come to really appreciate what they bring to the table. And I love that we're having a conversation around the short-term rental industry and what, travel advisors can do and what that partnership looks like, because I believe that it is wide open right now as an industry to probably reach out and be a little bit more accessible and strengthen that relationship. So happy to help in any way, kind of communicate that message.
Yeah, no, I think that, like as a leader in the industry, I think, there's so many things that you can be doing to kind of, you're working on your company and you have your team and you have your growth and all of that. And, some people in the industry are also thinking about like the direction where things are going. And I feel like, Scott, that you're really good with this. And to me, there's a bunch of areas in the vacation rental industry where there's like some directional shifts, whether that, you're talking about standards or services. But I think this idea of working with travel advisors, and obviously like travel advisors as an industry is growing massively as of recent. But when you look at lodging and as vacation rentals as a lodging option for any customer, but especially let's like, for the sake of this conversation, for the ones coming through travel advisors, there's so many more people using travel advisors, right? And these clients, like the people that want to book with travel advisors are the same people that want to book these vacation rentals. And especially when you're looking at luxury, this is the exact same client base that we're dealing with. And so the problem is that it's not super easy at the moment. We don't have like a beautiful framework where, when you're distributing vacation rental inventory, that you have this easy way to like get that right in front of the travel advisor. But I think everyone knows this by now, but like, I don't care. To me, that's not like, oh, it's hard, so I won't do it. It's kind of like, okay, well, it's hard, so I guess we have to fix that. And since I'm not tech enabled as a person, like I don't have a good sense of how to create software or solve technology problems. I'm not going to be able to solve it myself. But I feel like if we talk about it, and if I get people that are well respected and knowledgeable, like Scott and other people that have been on with us, and if we can talk about it, I'm pretty sure that, the right other players will be able to come to the table and help us find a better way forward. Okay, but so in the current state of things, the fact that we don't have, obviously the ability to really like list on the GDS or like, have an easy way to, be marketing through Virtuoso or some of those other things. There could be some stumbling blocks. There are some people in this industry like Scott who have found good ways to do this. And so Scott and I were talking before we started recording, but one of the things that got brought up was like the relationship building with the travel advisors. So maybe we could kind of start on that, Scott, and just talk about like what are some of your top pieces of advice, or maybe some of the like things that you've learned right off the bat in terms of the importance of a relationship with a travel advisor in our industry, and maybe some of the ways that those relationships can be built that maybe people wouldn't have thought of already, not like the obvious stuff. Yeah.
Sure, absolutely. I think the first thing is, there's always great myths about travel advisors. And they're like, well, what do they actually do? And I do all the work and they, don't do much. And then I have to pay them commission.
Totally. I hear the same thing from my reservations team.
Yeah, it's crazy. I mean, we've been talking for decades about how travel advisors are antiquated and are going away. They're only strengthening. The ranks are getting stronger, more accessible through great technology, more people who even, are learning or coming into the industry and getting younger and younger to be able to do that and realize this is a real job. So I would push to just understand what they really do and how integral they are. And that what they bring to the table is a ready to travel, perfectly qualified client that you couldn't do on your own. And so that's hard work, right? They are 24/7 like we are. They're the first person that's going to get a phone call if something doesn't go right. They really are in the same camp as us, but they've brought you their client and their reputation's on it. So this is where the trust comes in. They're very cautious about who they trust their clients with. And they want to ensure that if something goes wrong, they know that you're going to be there to have them back, that it's about making them look good. And so the more that you understand who they are and what they do, and I encourage you, it doesn't take much to know someone who's a travel advisor and talk to them, almost interview them and say, look, in my position, what do you need me to deliver for you? How can I be of the best service? What scares you about the villa rental side of things? What is it that we can do to bridge that? And just really listen. They know. They are so knowledgeable and relied upon, and they're spending big money, particularly in a lot of the luxury companies and destinations. They got full reign. Like some of them I know even have their own name on a black card through Amex, their, the Centurion card, because their customers trust them. So you need to understand what they do. It's not going to be necessarily a fast relationship. You're not going to spend 10 minutes meeting someone and all of a sudden the trust is coming, but spend time, getting your elbows and knees dirty, so to speak, crawling in that space, understand what it is, and talk to someone that doesn't and find out what they need. And then think about how you run your business. And you as the leader of your business is going to be an important part of it, right? They, again, knowing who's at the top, knowing who's representing the brand, who's really behind everything is going to be really.
Totally. Totally. So, like to me, this is a long game thing, right? That's my secret middle name that no one knows. Rachel, long game all day. But, but like to me, if you're someone who's not inherently ready for the long game, like this is definitely one place where I think you got to like talk yourself through the patience of the relationship building. I mean, if you're in hospitality, like relationship building should definitely be an important priority, right? Because it's trust in hospitality. But with the travel advisors, to me, it's like similar to a real estate agent, kind of the way I think about this. Like, because if you're in vacation rentals, you probably, if you're smart, you're building relationships with real estate agents or different organizations related to real estate agents, right? Because that can be a source of new inventory, of new homes, where like you can find new homeowners through relationships with real estate agents. And so in some ways, I see that correlation between travel advisors, almost like the real estate agents on the homeowner acquisition side are kind of like, I see like a relation on the guest acquisition side with a travel advisor, right? Because the travel advisor is sort of out there building their own important relationships with like pre-qualified clients in a way. And then they're going to be able to bring those people to you, just kind of like a real estate agent. And so, if you been building relationships with real estate agents in your business, you would know that that does take some time. And I think this is like similar to that. And I think, I don't know how you feel about this, Scott, but it's almost like if you, in your company, if you are thinking about how you market to real estate agents on the other side, on the homeowner acquisition side, you can kind of have a process and a plan around that. And you could almost sort of mirror that a bit. Now it's a little different because it's the guest side, not the homeowner, but with your travel advisor relationship, sort of in terms of how you might plan who you want to start to build a relationship with, how you're going to reach out to them, maybe how you might send them a gift or have ongoing messaging going to them, how you might like want to, like the way you would sponsor a real estate agent's open house as a way to show like that you're supporting them. Like you can do things with your travel advisors to sponsor like SAMs or, you know, events where they're hosting things in your market to bring in different advisors. Like you know, you have this ability where you can offer sponsoring of like a dinner or something. And it feels similar to me. I don't know. Do you see that? Or do you think is there something I'm missing there that's like not the same? I don't, this is like how my brain sees it. Do you see it like that?
It's a great analogy, right? Because you're working with a third party who has the relationship, and you want to be able to support them in what they need to do. So it's the exact same thing. And what you talked about is very accurate. You know, a lot of the destinations some of our businesses in are have active tourism boards, and well, they have publicists and media people, and are always looking for opportunities to bring people in to the destination. And they, you know, are focusing on the travel advisor community as well. There's lots of industry publications that today, you know, the B2B side of things that are at travel advisor shows where you can sign up and get in and have face-to-face appointments and network with them and understand. Social media brings you closer than it ever has before. I guarantee you, if you talk to your reservation teams, they probably receive a couple of phone calls more than you think every couple of months from travel advisors, and teaching them what that means. It's a very different conversation than talking to a guest directly. So there is a lot of low hanging fruit. It's cost effective to kind of get you into the game and understand what's happening and how you can approach it for sure.
Okay, so I think this point about making sure that not only that you understand, like if you're a business owner in the vacation rental industry, you know, making sure that we as the leader of our own companies understand the concept of travel advisors, like how they get paid and how we can work with them. And that's like a fairly in-depth endeavor, right? Like it takes kind of a lot to understand the mechanics of being a vacation rental company, working with a travel advisor, because there's so many variables and it's not consistent. Like as vacation rental company, what we offer is not consistent to the travel advisor. And then like what they want from us can be inconsistent. So we have to spend a lot of time matching that up. Like what's something that you think vacation rental companies can do to make it easier or like to make what they're offering more compelling to the travel advisors? I think there's a lot of stuff that can be done here, but I don't know if you have like a couple specifics.
The biggest thing I would say is stop viewing them as a channel and, you know, look at it from that perspective, and don't resent paying them the commission. At a high level, I think that's what I've run into most when talking to others, is they just never thought about it. But, you know, the facts don't lie. A travel advisor booking is usually going to average between 35 and 50% more of an average booking
I
value.
agree. I was going to ask you this. I didn't want to get like too, but yeah, like we get a ton of reservations that are like 50, 80, 100 or 200 grand for maybe a week or two, or maybe 10 days that are coming through travel advisors. And like, yes, I can get reservations like that without involving a travel advisor. But I think the key part here is oftentimes my travel advisor reservations are more like that. And so like I would think even if someone's managing properties where their highest booking is more like 10,000 total, it's like you're probably going to see those higher reservations on whatever the scale is coming in through travel advisors because they're working on commission too. Their time is just as valuable as ours. So they're probably doing what we're all doing, which is like trying to maximize the number of higher dollar transactions. And they're going to be focused on working with those clients. And then that's what they would be funneling to you.
Yeah, they're a professional like any other industry. And while it, you know, people are like, well, you know, some people are doctors, some people are lawyers, but honestly, it's the same thing for a travel advisor, the price point, the memories, the impact, to be able to do that. And these people have worked really, really hard. And I think that they don't always get the credit, for doing that. And so I think if you look at it from that point of view, realize they're professionals, realize that, you know, you're there to make them look good, right? And the more that you double down, making the client feel special because of their travel advisor. Instead, if you have a welcome amenity that you usually provide and a note and it's from your brand, don't do it from your brand. Do it from the travel advisor, in the welcome note and say, Sally is, we're so glad that you're a client of so and so's, and we'd like to do this special thing for you because you work with her and we appreciate her. I mean, those little things go a long way in building trust and relationship.
So there's statistics. I did like one episode recently where I was just reading off a bunch of statistics that were like insanely high. These percentages, like the growth for travel advisors. Are you seeing within all of your locations within Nocturne, are you seeing growth of bookings with travel advisors? Are you seeing it like more in certain types of locations than others, or are you seeing it across the board?
It is different by location, but that's just because some of our locations are in a consortia
Okay.
and have been, there for decades, and so have a little bit more, stickiness to it. But even the ones that, businesses that we, brought into the collection that weren't really paying attention to the travel advisor community, we're seeing that growth also happen and moving forward. And I wouldn't be surprised, people that are in a destination that maybe none of their competitors are paying travel advisor commission is totally possible. You could be the first. And that makes a huge difference because I hear a lot like, oh, you're paid commissions in that area. We always get requests for it, but I tell my clients that I don't really work in that area. I haven't established relationships and, you should book it on your own because they're not being rewarded or understanding what that destination is. So you could be the first to actually make that move into that space and surprise her.
It is kind of like because the growth of travel advisors is recent. I think there's lots of areas of the world, but like lots of vacation rental companies that aren't touching it yet because the old story that was for many years the true story was like, oh, travel advisors. There's travel. It used to be travel agents, and that travel agents like it's not such a thing anymore, and that they don't book vacation rentals, right? And so now it's like that's shifted, but it's like the dominoes are falling slowly and like more slow in some areas than others. I don't know what you think, Scott. I haven't asked any on this yet, but like I think when you're working in luxury, there is a much higher chance that you're going to be able to work with travel advisors because you're talking about higher price points. They're going to want, if you're able to work out a commission structure with them and you're willing, that's going to be really enticing to them. Have you heard anything about, areas where the price points, let's say, are under $500 a night, where travel advisors are doing a lot of business? Like, this isn't really what you do. And it's obviously, I'm really focused on my little ski markets. I'm just wondering, have you seen or heard that there's like a lot of growth with travel advisors, let's say lower than that $1,000 per night price point? Or do you feel like this is really concentrated right now, like in the sector of things that we're more focused on?
I think that there is travel advisors for all sectors
I
of
think that
travel,
too.
and depending upon what people are paying. So there's those work, where it's going to be more volume driven for them than on the luxury side. I would argue on the luxury side because there's a lot more at risk and at play in the price points that it's a little harder and less transactional, which is why the relationship matters. And you still better deliver for someone paying $500 or less a night to be able to do it. The other thing, and thinking about the future, we still have work to do to convince travel advisors that we're not alternative accommodations. And,
Yes.
we are a mainstay
Yeah.
luxury accommodation that
That we
brings,
can be trusted. Yeah.
quite honestly, a better value than someone who went to a luxury 5-star resort and had to buy 6 rooms that didn't have a common area for people to get to. It's much more affordable to get a one home and have your privacy. And we don't advertise that in luxury, but a travel advisor gets the value. and they can communicate that message and say, you'd be much better off being able to do that. So we still have to educate them to get comfortable with what we do and understand what it means for concierge services and how you can customize everything. So I think that is a little bit easier to do on the luxury high touch, but there are definitely, it doesn't matter. I don't think what your product price point is, as long as it's good and you're going to take care of their clients. Someone has a client that I'm sure they could, use your brand for sure.
Well, because so like the people that I've brought on for episodes so far, everyone's like more on the luxury side of things. The conversations that I've had historically about working with travel advisors in the vacation rental industry is always mostly focused on people that have luxury background. But my gut feeling has always been the same, right? As yours, Scott. Like there's so many travel advisors now because of Fora and companies like Fora, where they kind of make it easier for people to get into the travel advisor business. And they also provide them with like excellent tools to make it easy for them to do well. And so I feel like with, a growth, like a dearth of more travel advisors out there, obviously they're going to be, kind of funneling into different segments of the market where they can each have, their own niche. And so to me, it makes sense that it would be not just luxury. But like as you were talking, I was thinking, I don't know, like I don't have data on our travel advisors booking, the full gamut, but I have to assume they are. I do think that like maybe when you're in the luxury price point, you can find it easier to justify the work that goes into creating an arrangement that would make your offering more enticing to the travel advisors. And I think a lot of the time that's like creating a situation where they can really understand the listing and they can show the details of the property to their client without just sending a link to your regular website, and where they can also like have some nice boundaries and parameters about commission and cancellation policy and stuff without having to like essentially negotiate that through a conversation on every single transaction. And so I feel like, there's all these different ways where vacation rental companies can start to learn to offer up these details, right? Like there's some companies that have like a website where they have like an unbranded website where they can send links for travel advisors to see their offerings, but it's not sending them to their regular website. There's like this PDF. You can create PDFs that are unbranded. Like, is there other ways that you've seen or that you think are really good? Even if it's not as specific as what I just said about, let's say like someone's listening and they have a vacation rental company and they're thinking, oh my God, yeah, I want to get in front of travel advisors. And we've talked about this on previous episodes, right? But like, again, the travel advisors want a way to give their client, the potential guest, details about a property, but they don't want to send them necessarily to like, say, My Abode website, because they don't want that client to see that they could just book it themselves, right? They want to make sure they're setting something up so that the guest can see the details, but not be prompted to just book it themselves, because that travel advisor wants the commission, which makes sense. I don't know if you have any like even more general advice about like the mindset on, it's even the mindset around like the work it takes as a vacation rental company to be able to offer this information to a travel advisor. And it feels like more work that you're sort of like doing for them. Now, from my standpoint, because I've seen a lot of reservations come through and I've seen the revenue, I know it's worth it. But I don't know if you have any advice on like, how can someone start to justify that for themselves? Whether it's like, okay, here's an easy way that you can like think about finding a way to offer up this information to these travel advisors, or whether it's like maybe advice on how to change a mindset on, this is more work, instead of sort of like understanding it as like an open door to a new segment of customers.
Yeah, I think I'll answer the two parts of that one. I think the first one, the justification is obvious if you really think about it. The chances of getting that business without that travel advisor is really, 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 really small. And if you believe that if you take all that and you pay the travel advisor commission, that you're going to be turning away people who would be paying, you wouldn't have to pay a travel advisor. That's probably not true. I think people assume that that's what it's replacing. I doubt everyone's 100% 365 days of the year. And I doubt that everyone expects everything to come in through one distribution channel. If you're working with Airbnb, a VRBO, all these other partners, a travel isn't a partner. So it's the same thing. And you pay for that as well. But in this one, you're going to have a higher chance of a repeat rate. You're going to have a higher average booking. So that's the first part I think that you asked. That the other one that you mentioned is it doesn't take much to just build a white label part of your website that's accessible just to travel advisors and other partners, where they can pull information or send links that they can co-brand. It's a lot of work to go in fully, both be, up to your forehead in the water and develop so many tools to help them. I think that that will help, but there's going to be a point where you probably can't do that. But at a minimum, you could easily create the ability for white label website and content for them to be able to share easily, to be able to put that together. So I don't think that's too much work because you're just reskinning a section of the website. Maybe it's password protected where you get a travel advisor to sign up, and then they can play around, and what they send is not necessarily promoting, your brand directly. They can choose to do that, but it'll look like they curated something.
I know this part I actually have a lot of internal debate within my company about, because it's like for years we've been like more pulling information and putting it into an email, right? So which is more along the lines of like the version of this that's more similar to like creating PDFs, like essentially like creating a document where all your property photos and your detailed listing description would be in some document that you could share, and it wouldn't have your website information. And I debate between like making sure that my website has the ability to create a PDF automatically, or the like white labeled website, right? So just to clarify, what Scott's talking about is, it's the concept of you would essentially be like building something that would pull from your booking engine, really like pull from your listings and plop it somewhere that, like, if it's me, it wouldn't say abode, it would say, mountain ski homes or something. And then it would have our listings and the detailed information, but it wouldn't link to our website, so that link for each individual listing could be sent to, like, a travel advisor could send that link to their client. Their client could see the details of the home, but they wouldn't have a way to go book it themselves, right? Because the travel advisor wants for us to protect their client. And again, this reminds me of real estate agents so much, because it's like a real estate agent will want to work with you as a vacation rental company. They'll want to recommend their clients, to use you. But if you're a real estate agent and, they're recommending you their client, they're going to want to make sure that you're not going to try and not only manage this person's home, but maybe in the future become their real estate agent, right? Like that real estate agent wants to protect that client relationship that they have. Even as they bring you a client, they want to maintain their relationship with that client. And it's the same with the travel advisor. It's like they want to bring you this client to book this home, but they want to make sure they sort of keep a boundary around it. And when travel advisors book their clients into hotels, they have contracted relationships where that stuff is protected. And we don't have that so easy. I mean, we can one-off have contracted relationships with them. It's probably less necessary, like on a one-on-one, one-off basis. But I think that's part of the issue. Have you found ways like where, I don't know, and I don't want you to like tell any of your secret sauce, but like even just in a more general way about, I think this is more of an extension of that relationship building conversation, because it's like the travel advisors need to trust that as a vacation rental company, we're offering something that their guest is going to have like this amazing experience that they can trust, kind of putting their guest in our hands, and that we're going to respect that and, create an amazing experience for that guest. But they also have to trust us to not try to go like end around and try to, get in the way of their relationship. And I know there's a million ways that you can build that trust, but I don't know if you have any advice on that front.
Yeah, absolutely. I'll tell you what the best thing that you can do is, and I've done it many times. If a client has attempted to come to us directly after it came as a travel advisor booking, and we say to them, well, last time I know you booked with so-and-so. And they say, well, that's all right. I want to book this way, or I don't work with that travel advisor. I have 100% of the time still paid the commission to the travel advisor, even if that's no longer a client of theirs and they tried to book direct. We do not want to do that. And that's a great way to earn trust. They didn't even know that they lost the booking.
Yeah.
But we would never solicit it. But it does happen every once in a while where they'll
No,
try.
same. I've had the same thing happen.
Yeah. So
It's
I
so worth it.
automatically call them. Yeah.
Yeah, like you can call that commission dollars, but you know what? That's marketing dollars, because that travel advisor is now for sure going to bring you other clients, right? Because they brought you a client and then you paid them out for that reservation. That client comes back and you're like, oh yeah, if you can, now this is a thing, like you have to check within your software, in your, property management software, whatever software, your CRM, for a way for you to flag different guests under different travel advisors. And like this is something that probably all property management software should have the capability to do, and not all of it does. But so this is something that you have to kind of rig up depending on what software you're using. But like if you can track where this client came from and you can associate it to a travel advisor, Scott's exactly right. If that guest comes back a separate time, not through the travel advisor, but you still pay out that travel advisor because you're honoring that relationship, and like you're basically like paying this money to show them that they can trust you. That's literally marketing dollars, because they're coming back. Yeah.
Yeah. And, once the guest stays with you and, their email might be in your database, don't send them the regular marketing materials that encourages them to book with you directly. You should always have something that says, book, with your travel advisor, or along those lines, and or even just personalize it. And we said that, let the travel, advisor know we'd love to market, but remind them, it's been the anniversary of this booking with your client. We'd love to remind them, do you want to give them a call? Can we send them something and tell them to give you a call? Like those are the things that I think would, help build that relationship, is that you're not trying to lump them in with the normal marketing or try and, go around them, and that you're, helping them with their,
Such a
get
good
the,
idea. I haven't done that. And I feel like that's something I should do, is like everyone should think about this, right? Like if you have clients coming through travel advisors, why could we not send out some marketing, like segmented marketing campaigns that say, oh, we know you booked through this travel advisor and we hope you come back and we hope you reach out to them again. Here's their contact information. And we hope to hear, about the next booking that they're making for you or something, because it's like that travel, think about how valuable that would be to that travel advisor, how grateful. And again, it's like, so in a way you're marketing for them, but you are marketing what you do to the client as well. And you're for sure making so that that travel advisor is thinking of you when they think about whether it's like a certain type of beach market or a certain type of ski market. They're gonna not forget that. Yeah. I mean, it's like, I don't know. To me, these kind of relationships are so surefire ways to get more guests and to get to create revenue. And because in our industry, we haven't been focused on working with travel advisors, and for sure, because we don't have that framework set up, we just don't think about it. And I think a lot of times we're focused on other methods that are probably less likely to bring us the revenue that this travel advisor outreach could do. Like, do you have any favorite travel advisor companies that you think are like the ones that have been the best to work with? And this might not work because I don't know. I feel like if I have to think of like my favorite, I don't know if I have a favorite, but I would say I have loved seeing the growth of Fora. Like I've seen so many more Fora agents like coming in. I mean, I have a friend who works for Fora, so that's probably tainting me a little bit, but I see a lot more email communication coming in from Fora travel advisors. And maybe because a lot of people with that company are focused on ski markets, and that's where I am. But I don't know, is there another company, let's say, or another couple companies where you've seen a lot of growth or like more action coming from travel advisors into different vacation rental companies? Or like maybe that there's like, one company that's especially professional or like open-minded towards vacation rentals? Or
I think it's more of a mixed bag, right? I mean, there's there's so many good travel agencies out there that make the education for the travel advisor and the suppliers, the way they look at it, right? The suppliers, the people that they work with, really important. And in some situations, those companies have preferred suppliers. And so your relationship has to be beyond just the individual advisor, because they're getting as be part of, for any other organization, they're trying to vet, make sure they have the right people. So that is a good way to get in, is to see if you can go to the larger agencies or the consortia and be able to kind of get yourself in front of them and present yourself. That's hard to do when you're not a lot of destinations, because it's hard to kind of have a voice among everything that they're dealing with, right? All the resorts provide. So sometimes it just takes getting in, having a friend that's an advisor that recommends, I trust them and can, go with it. But the way that, many are set up today, like host agencies, very different than, agencies where people are joining an organization. They're able to build their own base of business, but operate under the strength of that host agency. You probably have more flexibility, or if you're a mono destination or a particular region, to have a voice, because they're looking for specialists like that. And maybe it's not a large, group that they need to bring in. I think that would be a better place to start. You'd have a better shot of doing that than getting accepted in a consortia in one destination, than being able to do that.
And maybe that way then is more like to start through the local DMO or like the chamber or through the relationships, right? Like that your destination marketing organization, is that what that is, DMO? And so like if you're listening and you're in vacation rentals and you don't know what a DMO is, like please go Google that next to the name of wherever you operate, because those organizations like could really have good access to like recommending different travel advisor groups or even individuals that are like frequently working with your location, right? And I feel like that part, I sometimes like struggle to get in too much conversation about the DMOs, because I think it, like at least in Park City, the chamber and the DMO, it's like confusing. And I don't know if that happens everywhere else, but I do think in starting with a chamber or a DMO and asking about relationships that are already in place with travel advisors or consortia or different organizations related to that, I feel like that can be a good place to start. I mean, that's where you can start also asking to get involved with like the SAM tours or like the times when those DMOs or whatever are bringing in different groups of media or travel advisors to come and see a location. I know we've had some success with that. And I know that like when we talked to Julie Bird from Cabo Villas, which is one of the Nocturne companies, that I know that some of the stuff that she recommended that had been really successful, that to me as a recommendation, like if your location does a lot with the DMO and their relationships, it can be really fruitful. But then some places they don't have that going as much, and so it is kind of a one off. It's hard to know until you ask. So I don't know. I always want to bring that up, but then I would hate for anyone to go try to work on that and hit like a dead end, and then it would be my fault.
There's another way too, way. There are lots of amazing media companies and trade publications today that I read religiously. And so, if you look, there's a larger company, the North Star Group, and
North Star Group. You're right. Yeah, yeah.
an American Marketing Group. They have unbelievable specialized publications. They're, not just the place to go for all things for travel advisors on the B2B side of it, but they run trade shows too. And they have specialty for luxury events. And so you can get yourself access, and for you to have access to the travel advisors, very cost effective. And they're already pre-screening the right travel advisors. You can see if it's a good fit. But I would just get online and start reading within these organizations that specialize in communication, because they're beyond that, right? They're putting on events, they're doing podcasts and media events, they're sponsoring surveys, and they're producing, by the way, one of the things they do is they produce a lot of them, the top 100 travel agencies, all those things are accessible in there. And like I said, I learn a lot the people that are writing for them are really smart and clever, and they know the space really, really well. And they're giving you perspective, and they're telling you things like what the difference is if you need to know, even from a host agency versus, a traditional agency, and what that means, and what a consortia, who's part of a consortia, what they do. And
Okay, this is a perfect starting point, Scott. You're right, to look at the North Star like articles and like things that they're putting out and then go on the site and like search. I think that's such actually no one's brought that up yet. That's a really good point because this is confusing as hell, right? Like when you start talking about DMOs and consortia and travel hosts and travel advisors and travel agencies, and it's like it can just be so overwhelming that you can see why for many years vacation rental companies were kind of like, forget it, it's too crazy, I can't figure it out. So I do think looking at the North Star like publications and at their site and their resources is probably an awesome place. If you're hearing these conversations about travel advisors and you're feeling overwhelmed, like that would be a great way to start digging in to get really good information.
yeah, and look, I can say this. My best friends I've made over the years, I mean, the travel advisors are our people, right? They are travel people. They work hard, they play hard. I am still friends with ones that I've met 30 years ago. They're, ride or die, a lot of them. Like, so much personally about them, family and things like that. That's why it takes time. But as a group of people go, we all made the decision, the businesses that we're in, that we enjoy serving other people and taking care of people. They're in the same category, and they're there to help. So it's a fun group. Now, don't mistake that for them always being available. They're getting, attacked from all angles too, right? From people wanting their attention and stuff. So you have to respect their time. It's not like they're always going to go out and want to kill time. You got to be efficient because they're usually overworked. But the payoff at the end and the trust that comes in, you could end up being just a better person because these people have such perspective and travel and global. I find them such fascinating, interesting people that, you end up really, sticking with them, and you go, these are my people.
The commentary, which I've heard from my own reservations team before, just about like, well, working with the travel advisors and they're going to want a commission and like we're going to have to, but what I realized is like the travel advisor role is probably most similar to like some sort of combination of a reservation salesperson and a concierge salesperson, which like this is a very high demand type of role, like on your soul, right? Like this is like where you have to give of yourself. You have to be probably answering calls and responding to people maybe outside of your regular hours of work in order to be responding quickly and not leaving anyone hanging. And so, whether it's a travel advisor, a reservation agent, or someone who works in concierge services, like those are all really high demand and there's so much similarity. I think it's like sometimes it's just a reframing of our understanding of that role. Okay, one of the I had like done like a big episode plan for Scott, but then as usual, I never touch the episode plan, but we just like do it, I don't know, to provoke thoughts maybe. But one of the questions that's related to some of what's on that episode plan that we're barely acknowledging, which standard for me, is like a little bit of reference back to like the hotel industry, right? Scott, Scott has a lot of experience from that. And I'm just wondering how, like for you, the transition from that industry into vacation rentals and maybe in relation to working with travel advisors. I don't know if you have any like learnings that you saw coming from hotels into vacation rentals, like maybe some mindset or knowledge that you brought from hotels that's helped you with the way that you think about working with travel advisors in the vacation rental industry, or even like some little specific nugget, tidbit, whatever.
I would say for the most part, when I left the hotel space, I went into a lot more complicated, luxury travel, like, global travel and custom travel and safari and, cruising down the Nile and doing all this. And then, also did, all luxury, all inclusives, and then now short-term rental. So I think the perspective is it got a lot more complicated on the logistics than just in the hotel space, booking a hotel room, being a little bit more transactional. What didn't change is, regardless of what you're doing, You have to make sure the travel advisor client feels special, feels different, either whether it's in a hotel or whether it's traveling abroad or whether it's enjoying the house. As long as you do that, it's fine. But, the more that you step away from a hotel, which is up, for lack of a better word, a controllable space and box, you have a lot more risk in the logistics for things to go wrong. And so you got to kind of button that up, but there's more opportunity in a good way to make them feel special. We do a much better job today in concierge services and being super creative, right? What we can offer in the home, what we can do leading up to it. I think we also have the ability to have a much more hyper personalization when it comes to what you can do for the guests. So I find it more free. Within a box in a hotel, there's only so much you can do to be super creative, but you can do so much more where we're at, which I think allows us to do a better job with the travel advisor because I could adapt a lot more things to do something special. You can have, this person likes drinks or special, or they like a massage at the hotel, or, that is a very tight box. Creative, boom, everything explodes when you're like, I've got a lot to work with here, right? Whether it's personal hiking guide or it's, a certain, special, shaman person that comes
Yes.
in.
I love all
So,
that stuff.
well,
Yeah.
I love it. So I just kind of grew on it and said, this is much more fun. And the more I can get the travel advisor to tell me what's really special for the client, the better chance I have of delivering something truly special versus an amenity, which usually is the way it goes off in a
I
hotel.
totally agree. I think this is the perfect framework, honestly, for people to think about it because that's how I think about it as well, without even putting it in those terms. But I agree. And I think so if you're someone and you're in vacation rentals and you're thinking about working with travel advisors and you're like kind of wondering, how do you even reach out? Like we've covered some of this, like how do you start to touch that industry, the travel advisor piece? And then like, how do you get over the hump of like maybe not knowing how to make yourself different or enticing to travel advisors who we know are going to have to overcome a little bit of some more obstacles than they would when they're booking a vacation rental than as compared to when they're booking a hotel. And I think this is perfect, right? Because in vacation rentals, because usually we're like these smaller companies, we can be more creative. We can offer like really amazing services. And, hotels theoretically, like they could too, but a lot of times they are a little more boxed in because they're dealing with branding or, parameters on budget that are a lot more strict or whatever it is. Whereas we might have this flexibility to create more along with just the lodging in terms of the full experience. And I think that's something that we should be all vacation rental companies should be offering that up when they're talking to travel advisors, like highlighting that and reminding them like, hey, yes, this is an amazing property where an extended family could all be staying together or whatever. Even just like one nuclear family could be staying and they have this private place where they're not having to eat all their meals in public. And not only that, we have the ability to work in a different way with all these local providers to get a lot more creative on the experiences that come like in addition to the lodging. I think that's an awesome piece. And I think, that's something that we do and that some other companies do, but I'm always talking about how I think vacation rental should do more across the board with concierge or ancillary services in order to really be selling not just that bedroom and the kitchen and the bathroom, but like the full experience that can go around it. Okay, we're getting close to how much time we should do it, even though I always end up talking way too long. But there's one question. So my episode plan that I like put, through chat and had like a framework for us to work with. It always gives me like way too many questions. But there's one that's sort of like towards the end of the plan that I actually think is really good. And it's off topic. This is not so much about travel advisors, but just Scott has like such a varied background and it's really focused on lodging and hospitality and travel planning, but it has a lot of like interesting nooks and crannies. And I think this question, so last week I was in Santa Fe. I went to a Chip Conley retreat. I don't know if I told you about this, Scott, but Chip Conley is an author and he has a hospitality background, but he does Modern Elder Academy. Have you heard of this, Scott? The Modern Elder Academy? Okay. So do you know who Chip Conley is?
Yes.
Okay. So Chip Conley does these retreats where it's like for people in their midlife, which he considers 45 to 75. And it's about wisdom. It's about like cultivating wisdom as you're not a youngin anymore. And you're like, your brain is matured and we have life experience under our belt. And it's the idea of like cultivating wisdom. And this question is totally resonating for me right now because I don't know, it feels like it's somehow part of that wisdom. And it's funny because your last name is Wiseman. Okay. But you guys, Scott is very wise. And if you're ever at a conference, like now he's going to be mad, maybe he'll get harassed. But Scott's got like a lot of wisdom to offer, I think, to anyone in our industry. And I love talking about this travel advisor piece, but it's nice to have people in our industry who have the depth of knowledge and also who are willing to talk about it. And I have found Scott to be someone who's willing to have conversations and like share what he knows. Okay. So the question is, what belief about hospitality do you hold today that you didn't hold 10 years ago? Is that a question? I don't know. Like this is a chat gave me this question. So like, but I think it's kind of good.
I've been doing this so long. 10 years ago actually
Yeah,
doesn't
that's
even
like
seem
yesterday,
long
right?
ago. Yeah, it's recent.
You can go back farther. I mean, whatever.
Yeah, I think, if I go back to 10 years ago, I think I'd really believe that great companies were built by great people, period. But today, I've come to realize, especially in the luxury space, even more, that great companies are built by great people with great systems. And so I think that's what's changed for me is, kind of getting that underpinning to shore it up a little bit because you can
That's
still have,
longevity. That's how you can keep
yeah,
it
and
going,
it's
right?
going to keep things going. It's going to keep consistency. It's going to allow you to embrace everything that comes along. Like AI is still there, but it doesn't change what you need with great people. But if you don't pick up those things and you just rely on great people, you're going to go off the rails a lot
So
sooner.
true. Because there's so much complexity, right? Because it's like hospitality of, I don't know, like 60 years ago or something, right? Like, before so much technology, it was just the people. But now there's much more complexity because the marketing is more complex. The kind of services you can offer is more complex. The way you have to think about it because of AI and just the complexity. A lot of it relates to marketing, actually, when I think about it. You
For
really do
sure.
need systems. Yeah. And then in order to keep the consistency, you have to have like standards and the ability to hold them, which does require systems. I'm living that, Scott. Like I'm saying, Scott's always has like the right advice because what he's saying is like exactly true in my life right now. I feel like our business was just like us and our amazing team. But then we got to a certain point, and in order to keep that going, we really had to implement like crazy SOPs and processes, which I never wanted to do, but that's the only way to keep it going with consistency. And, that just adds to it. But I think it also can help you dial back the complexity if you could put the frameworks in place. It feels less chaotic because you can kind of get a handle on it. So I think that's a really good piece of advice. Thank you. So Scott and I were supposed to record like a week or two ago, and I messed it up because I have this crazy ability to get into a conversation with someone and then the whole world goes away and so does my sense of time, and then I'm late for the next thing, which was my initial time to record with Scott. And so I am very grateful to you, Scott, that you were willing to do this in the first place and that you were forgiving enough when I messed up our first scheduled time. And Scott is a super busy person. Nocturne is growing and is constantly announcing. If you don't know what Nocturne is, like definitely look that up and then start following because I see Nocturne is just like constantly adding some of the most amazing companies in the vacation rental industry and like specifically in that luxury area of the industry. Like the top favorites are always being added into the Nocturne portfolio. So clearly you guys are doing a lot right. And I love watching it. I love getting to know the Nocturne team and I'm super inspired, just like seeing the ability you guys have had to, select these amazing companies to work with and then to watch like what happens as you bring them all together. That's like, to me, that's, what the top of the top, like that's what we want to see happening is like holding that excellence, but in some ways like bringing it together for efficiencies. And so I think it's really cool what you guys are doing. And I'm very grateful that even knowing that you're doing all of that, that you're willing to spend some time on my little podcast and talk about this topic. So thank you for coming on, Scott.
My pleasure. The feeling is very mutual. I will always make time for you. And I don't even know what you're talking about.
Oh, please. I'm just grateful. And anyways, Okay, so if somebody wants to reach out to you, if they're hearing this and they're like, what did he just say? I want to know more. Is like, what's the best way for someone to try to find you?
Yeah, if my email should be on the website, but it's just Scott Wiseman, plain and simple, at nocturneluxuryvillas.com. LinkedIn, you can reach out to me, please. I'd love to make connections. We have plenty to learn, so I'm happy if people want to reach out, have a conversation, expanding the network. And the reason that I'm really appreciative of what Rachel's doing, we all believe that high tide rises all boats. So everyone wins. It's much better. The last thing we want to see is people fail at what they're trying to do. We want to make sure the industry is strong. And so we've got to be open with each other and supportive and look at ourselves as a community. And so obviously Rachel's probably one of the biggest leaders in that. And we support that as well. So please reach out if you want to get in touch. Happy to have a conversation and keep the industry really, really growing.
Agreed. Okay. And we'll put Scott's email in the show notes and maybe even like a link to his LinkedIn. And then otherwise, yeah, I hope that this conversation was helpful to some people who are listening. And hopefully, if you have more questions, you'll let us know. But otherwise, we will see you next time on the next episode of the Hospitality Break Room. Thanks for listening to the Hospitality Break Room. This season, we're exploring how the vacation rental industry and travel planners can work better together, and we're just getting started. Be sure to subscribe so you don't miss future episodes. And if you found this conversation valuable, share it with someone in hospitality or travel. We'll see you next time in the break room.